What has become obvious to me since joining FTX is that we are more than just the fastest growing crypto company globally. We are a company whose core belief is that people with passion can change the world.
Folks, there is one thing that pisses me off the most about this FTX story. And yes, there is a lot that you can see wrong about this situation. According to a recent lawsuit, American consumers alone collectively sustained over $11 billion in damages. Lots of consumers around the world are never going to be able to withdraw their savings ever again. Massive amounts of market cap have already been wiped out of the crypto industry, probably around 200 billion plus before this whole thing goes by. And quite frankly, many people will leave crypto forever, and it will slow down the growth and the development of the industry. And in totality, this might end up being one of the most massive frauds in terms of total dollars lost in history. But we have seen massive frauds and or massive scams before. We know bad and or incompetent people exist everywhere and always have. This isn't something that is new. But the one thing that pisses me off the most was how FTX and its founders shoved their fake virtues down everybody's throats until they gagged.
I got into finance in the first place to try and maximize the amount that I can donate to some of the most effective causes.
The goal seemingly being to control the media narrative, to control politicians, to control influencers, and to control, of course, the general population. And they succeeded. They virtue signaled their way into billions and billions of dollars. I'm going to break down exactly how FTX did this in 3 different parts. Number 1, from Sam Bankman-Fried himself. Number 2, the media. And number 3, YouTube influencers, celebrities, and other endorsers. Let's go ahead and start by looking at Mr. Sam Bankman-Fried, Mr. SBF. So while SBF was building his massive empire of loose bricks and allegedly trading with customer funds, he was shoving down everyone's throat that he was a philanthropist and promoted certain popular societal values. And of course, the media ate this up. Bloomberg, a 30-year-old crypto billionaire, wants to give his fortune away. Market Insider, FTX's Sam Bankman-Fried only plans to keep 1% of his money. Fortune, Sam Bankman-Fried and the conscience of a crypto billionaire. Giant crypto exchange founder Sam Bankman-Fried promises to give away most of his $21 billion fortune. And if you read his communications and his interviews, it's all him pushing overused cliches and endorsing whatever society's current virtues are. It's trendy for people not to like billionaires and for people to call them greedy. Well, don't you worry though. You see Sam High Horse Fried, he's not like the other billionaires. He's earning to give.
Sam will tell you he's always wanted to get rich, but not for the reasons you might expect. All that money, he plans to give most of it away to charity.
The inference, anybody who's making more than they need and isn't giving, they're greedy, even if they're investing in the economy, even if they're running a legitimate business. NBC reports this week before his cryptocurrency empire spectacularly collapsed, one of SBF's political groups hosted back-to-back happy hours for movers and shakers in both parties at the $3 million townhouse it had recently purchased steps from the Capitol. He paid Bill Clinton to speak at a conference, who, based on this pin, I guess is the former president of Ukraine. I'm not sure. You can let me know who he is. SBF became the second biggest political donor to one of the major parties in the U.S. in this previous election.
So when you give money to a candidate and he or she gets elected, do they respond to you when you call them later, or not really?
Some do, some don't. If I pulled out my phone here and just looked at my last 10 text messages, about half of them are going to be people asking for, politicians asking for contributions. But
Sam Bankman-Fried is a Democrat, and he spent at least $40 million supporting the party. In some deep red areas, he gave money to what appears to be the more centric candidates in the Republican Party. He started the FTX Foundation, and on its website, it has a picture of him and says, "Effective philanthropy can save millions of lives and leave a brighter future to generations of our descendants. It's a privilege to be part of the effort to create a better world." He did all of these things not because he has supposed values or supposed virtues, but instead because he was trying to influence and control and get more and more power, and of course to virtue signal his way to the top. Today, it does not matter if you are virtuous. All that matters is that you're saying that you're virtuous. And of course, the virtues that we're talking about is whatever society has decided in the day-to-day is important. And of course, that changes as much as the weather. This is a guy that had no backbone or no solid beliefs that went and tried to influence everything. And of course, most people ate it up, because if you don't eat it up, then all of a sudden you're against those virtues, right? Now listen to what he said about this in a recent Vox Text interview. The interviewer said, "You were really good at talking about ethics." And he responds, "Yeah, I had to be. It's what reputations are made of to some extent. I feel bad for those who get effed by it. By this dumb game we woke Westerners play where we say all the right shibboleths, and so everyone likes us." And so here you have it, folks. You play the game of saying whatever the trendy things are to say, and then everyone likes you. They bend over and they praise you, they worship you, and they certainly don't question you, because if you shove virtues down enough people's throats and deep down there enough, guess what? Well, they can't speak up. They can't speak up and question you because they're too busy choking on your virtues. And obviously, we already know that large masses, I would argue a majority of society, is literally programmed just to gobble up useless platitudes. Now, what did all of this accomplish? Well, it made SBF and FTX incredibly popular amongst the media and allowed him to get away with a lot more than he otherwise would have. If someone questioned his intentions, people would say, "Oh, he doesn't care about the money, bro. He's earning to give. Altruism. He drives a Toyota Corolla. He says he's giving away all his money," as if political power and global influence and prestige and praise is not more of a draw for billionaires than fancy cars are. But of course, the everyday people are like, "Oh, he drives a Toyota Corolla, so I guess that means that he's altruistic. He doesn't care about the moolah." And while SBF took the Democrat route with his political contributions, I can find you oodles of both Republican or Democratic donors who are pushing agendas with a darker personal agenda behind them. It's a common tactic used to control a very gullible society that only looks at the surface. Lots and lots and lots of people in today's society, not just SBF. I don't even think SBF is in the top 10 worst of the people that do this. Lots of people push fake virtues in order to get some sort of personal or financial gain, sometimes specifically political gain. And it is worth mentioning that SBF's partner at FTX, Ryan Salami, gave about $24 million to the GOP during the midterms, which really goes to show you that this is a bipartisan issue. You have a lot of cuckoo heads that virtue signal down our throats in both political perspectives, which really goes to show you the goal wasn't to push any sort of set values or virtues, but rather to create some sort of political power for FTX and their leadership. So FTX first goes and shoves their virtues down everyone's throats. Then they have the media shove virtues down everyone's throats. And then the final step, they pay influencers and well-known celebrities to shove their virtues down people's throats and to add that extra personal touch to it.
If there's ever a place I could be that I'm not going to get in trouble, it's going to be at FTX. So, they're great people.
Once you start having individual endorsers of the virtues and the product and people to say how great you are, it's a lot more convincing versus just the company saying it or the media reporting it. But before we get into this next segment, I do have a quick word from today's sponsor. Are you looking for a safe, effective, full of altruism, and totally virtuous crypto broker and platform to trade crypto on? Are you looking for a platform that you could brag to your friends as making a difference in the world? A platform that makes sure your dollars go very, very far, and with a founder who has given away most of his fortune, at least in a sense? Well, if so, make sure to check out FTX with our link down below. If you've tried STD, you'll love FTX. It's just like STD, but a lot more contagious and a lot less fun to get. Jokes aside, the next point, FTX, of course, spent millions and millions of dollars pushing its brand via social media, celebrities, and YouTubers. I was offered to work with FTX sometime at the end of last year, and I did end up hopping on a call with him sometime, I think in the early summer. And the rep that I talked to was extremely condescending. He kept bragging about all the work they were doing, and quite frankly, it rubbed me the wrong way. Luckily, I ended up not working with them. I didn't know they would collapse. I saw a lot of their investors, so quite frankly, I was looking at them like, hey, the odds of them surviving this crypto winter are probably fairly high. But do I really want to be working with them with this overall perspective I had from talking to that one rep, also combined with the fact that, hey, we are in this massive crypto winter and I believe a lot of things are going to get worse, so do I really want to be partnered with a crypto firm? And because I asked those questions, I was luckily able to dodge the bullet. I don't blame people that weren't able to dodge the bullet because FTX did have a pretty convincing resume of investors and people that they were working with. But this goes back to my main point. The key distinction between them and other platforms I've worked with is how they wanted to be promoted and how they were effectively promoted across the industry. The thing that separated FTX from the others is that FTX, the promotions from FTX were focused on how righteous they were.
And their founder, Sam Bankman-Fried, was recently called the world's most generous billionaire with his mission I would tell them that it's more important than ever to use a reputable exchange who gives the best pricing and has a wide range of products and services to choose from. That's why I'm really proud to stand behind today's sponsor, FTX.
We are hoping to introduce and celebrate FTX as a company whose mission since founding was to make the greatest impact for good.
You should trust FTX over other platforms because we are doing things to make the world a better place. And if you look at the ad campaigns from most of the influencers on YouTube and across media that promoted them, they were all primarily focused on the virtue signaling and pushing that virtue narrative. In my view, a business's first goal is not to virtue signal and do all of these supposed good things in the world, but first to focus on doing a good job by their clients. And then, yes, after that, they can do something. Of course, I don't want them to shove it down our throats every second, but first you focus on a good product, and then with whatever profit, you can decide what you want to do with those. Usually, you'd actually provide a lot more value in the world if you just figure out how to invest those profits into further providing more value to your customers. Quite frankly, in my view, the ad campaign pushed by FTX utilized fake virtue signaling to trick the media and basically pay off anyone they could to talk positively and push those fake talking points, and most of the people that were saying it believed it, so it really was effective. Now, again, I'm going to go back and say at the time, while I didn't work with them, I did not know that this would happen. Especially as the year progressed, it was my impression based on the acquisitions and so on and so forth that they were very, very solid from a cash perspective. I don't have any access to their internal documents, and there's no regulation to force them to post them. And of course, it actually seems like they don't have an accounting department that kept records anyways. But the reason that FTX was so successful is because society is so stupid. They think if you just say you're virtuous, they believe it. They think, oh, okay, well, he said he's virtuous. He can't be lying about that. So I guess everything else we just don't have to look at. Just assume that what he's saying is true. But lessons and takeaways here, well, if someone needs to shove their virtue down your throat at all hours of the day, they probably aren't very virtuous. Really selfless people don't need to talk about how they're selfless all day long. And by the way, you don't have to be selfless to run a good business and do right by your customers. The wonderful thing about capitalism is that you can provide value to customers and also value to yourself at the same time in a win-win relationship. However, when push came to shove, SBF and FTX provided neither value nor virtue, and my guess is that this is just the tip of the iceberg. Anyways, folks, that caps off today's video. Make sure to hit that ravishing like button and subscribe. Let us know what you think down below. And I do want to cap this video off by reminding you that our Black 60 coupon code is now active, and you can get 60% off our ZipTrader U program. If you want to lock in lifetime access to the program for the reduced one-time fee, make sure to look into that as soon as possible. You'll get access to our step-by-step lessons, private chat, daily morning briefings, and full price target list, as well as all other traded resources. Link down below. Have a great rest of your day, and I will see you in the next video.